Welcome to the St. Stephen's Community House Crystal Methamphetamine eLearning series. This is Module 3 of 4. This module is about understanding paranoia and psychosis in terms of crystal methamphetamine use. Katrine's story. I was frequently losing control with emotions compounded by being tormented by my partner. I would haul off and whack myself in the head as a way to calm myself down. I knew this was self-harm, but it worked when I was absolutely overwhelmed with anxiety. Sometimes I was warned that my inappropriate actions would make staff need to call an ambulance. I trusted drop-in staff who were direct, fair, and unfearful. When I frightened staff, I would become too scared to stay in fear that I would be locked up. I was grateful when treated with kindness rather than concern. I endured constant judgment. I resented those who approached me with entitlement to inquire about my personal choices and insisted change. It became a kind of harassment defending my substance use. I overused while I was homeless. I used drop-ins when I didn't have anything. I was often volatile and experienced rapid mood change that would evoke a monster when I felt irritated. I would not return to spaces that I was too embarrassed from past outbursts. When I was at the shelter, I hadn't slept in days and felt overwhelmed with fatigue to the point of just crying and being unable to stop. What I needed at the time that I wasn't able to communicate was to just be given a mat so that I could lay down and rest my head. What actually agitated me was being asked so many questions about support when really the support I needed was just to be left alone. Here's what didn't help. Getting kicked out for yelling, being followed around by staff if I was crying, being told I looked good by staff when I wasn't feeling good, or getting accused of recently using in the space. Here's what helped me at drop-ins and shelters. If unable to sleep, I was able to stay up and draw or write, or be kept inside and relaxed. Patience from staff, not being rushed out of the bathroom, being allowed to repack my knapsack over and over, kindness and empathy instead of worry and concern.
The following are statements from someone with lived experience of paranoia and psychosis. I was ripping and tearing apart rooms looking for bug devices, accusing family and friends that they were out to get me and having me followed, ripping my mum's phone apart thinking she was recording me, ripping my mum's necklace off thinking there was a camera in it. I was hiding out in small isolated areas, afraid to communicate with anyone, watching through windows and doors thinking people were coming after me for hours at a time. I was going through my computer or phone for hours or days at a time looking for anything planted, going through my partner's belongings for hours at a time thinking he was up to something. I was hiding out in motels, panicking for hours on end that people would smell the smoke or knew what I was doing, staying up for days at a time.
The following typically does not work in terms of people who are using crystal methamphetamine and experiencing paranoia and/or psychosis. People telling me what I was thinking wasn't real. People yelling at me. People shaming me for my use and behaviors, or trying to stop my use. What also didn't work was forced detox and treatment, or if too many people were in my space. Threats against me to call the police or ambulance, forced emergency forms or visits, or people calling me crazy. The following typically did work in terms of people who are using crystal methamphetamine and experiencing paranoia and/or psychosis. Having a safe environment to use in, having someone safe to talk to if needed, space, as in no crowds of people. It also helped to have someone who I could relate to or identify with if I chose, or being able to share what I thought was happening to someone who wouldn't tell me no or that it wasn't happening. Substitution therapies as well, such as alcohol and benzos.
A high dose of crystal methamphetamine can bring on psychosis with no other mental health issues present. If someone has a history of psychotic symptoms, a high dose of crystal methamphetamine can cause a recurrence of those symptoms. Remember, there is a connection between trauma, mental illness, being street involved, and substance use. Police and healthcare professionals tend to forget everything else when they hear or come to know that an individual uses crystal methamphetamine, but the picture is more complicated. Following a high dose of psychostimulants, users of crystal meth can experience These are similar to effects felt during withdrawal as well, which means determining whether or not someone has recently used a higher dosage or is in withdrawal can be difficult. But remember, it isn't that important if someone has had a high dose or is withdrawing. Your job is to provide comfort and support as needed by that person in that moment.
What can you do if someone has taken a high dose of crystal methamphetamine? Most importantly, follow their lead. If you are uncomfortable, people will pick up on that. Check on what people need, don't guess.
There are certain things you would always want to have on hand: an emergency cigarette stash, cool cloths, ice packs, or a fan in case someone who has used psychostimulants is overheating, coffee, water, or snacks, fidget spinners, or something like a coloring book or another distraction to help with the anxiety and the mental energy that the person has. What can you do if someone has taken a high dose of crystal meth? You can take them to a quiet area with an easy, clear exit. You can try to reduce stimuli. That means music, television, loud noises. See if people want to go outside for a smoke. Get some space. Refrain from giving them any other drugs. Example, Tylenol for a headache. Leave folks alone if they don't want to talk, but check in regularly to make sure they don't need anything from you. If people are moving around a lot or fidgeting, try and move around with them. Mirror their body language, mirror their movements. Have additional services written down so they can take it away and look later. Use short sentences and minimize questions. Tune into your compassion. When you do so, it shows. Module 4 is focused on de-escalating situations that become aggressive, so make sure you watch that one too.
When to call 911. Call 911 if someone has rigid limbs, loses consciousness, is profusely sweating, has a very elevated. The best thing you can do is to build a relationship with someone before an incident when using crystal methamphetamine causes paranoia or psychosis. Knowing them means you will know what to do and have less need to guess.
We are grateful to the Toronto Central LHIN and University Health Network for funding this project.